Okay, so let me begin. Yeah, so I'm sorry about belaboring the same topic, but we'll end today. Arrays will end today, and we'll see one more this example of dynamic programming that we saw last class. We'll continue with that. So this is the question of computing the longest ascending subsequence of a given sequence. Okay, so you're given a sequence A is which is a bunch of elements of type A, where A allows some ordering. Okay. So here are some examples. If you consider this sequence 41, 30, 12, whatever, this whole thing, you will see that 12, 25, 28, 31, 40. So that's an ascending subsequence, and no matter how you try, you can check that you cannot find any other ascending subsequence of longer length. Okay, you might have others of same length, but you can't find something of longer length. Here, for instance, you can do 17 and either this 22 or that 22. Let's pick this, and then 45, 47. Okay, so that gives you an ascending sequence. You can also get another ascending sequence of the same length. Can somebody do that? So you can, for instance, choose 0, 2, 11, 33. That's also length 4. And so on. Okay, so here you see that it's 12, 30. So the length is unique and it's 6 in this case. So I hope the examples make it clear what the problem is. And we did this a little bit in the last class, but we'll just go over the systematic transformation of this program all the way to a program using arrays. Okay, so it is convenient to add a dummy element at the front, which will never affect the result, meaning that you add something that is guaranteed to be smaller than every element in the array. Then you can always say that I'll start with the first element of my list. Okay, and then eventually, once you have computed the length, you subtract 1 from it. Okay, so you're going to do minimum of A is -1. So this is guaranteed to be smaller than everything in A's. Okay, and you proceed based on that. Okay, and you add that, and every sequence you compute will include that, but that's a dummy element, so you have to remove that at the end. So that's why you do a -1. Is this clear? Yeah. So what is LAS prime? This is LAS prime that I'm calling here. That is the length of the longest ascending subsequence of x colon x's that definitely starts with x. Okay, should include x. So why do I do it this way? Because it makes my program convenient. Okay, so one small thing, I was able to do this trick of subtracting 1 from minimum is when my list was a list of integers. If it's some general ordered type, if it's some general type that belongs to OR, I cannot do this because it might not have subtraction. I might not have the subtraction operator. So what do I do then? I can still do this. We can still add a value that is strictly smaller than all the elements of A's. Okay, so that is really the point. Okay, you can still do that. How do you do that? That's a small trick. It's worth knowing, which is why I'm repeating it here. So you do LAS prime on another list. This list you put some element at the very beginning, which is guaranteed to be smaller than others. How? You just if you start with x1, x2, x3 all the way till xn, then you actually do 0, x1 and then 1, x1, 1, x2, etc. all the way till 1, x. And why does this work? Because of this. 0x is less than 1, y for any x. Doesn't matter whether x is greater than y or x is less than y. Okay, you can check that 0, x is always smaller than 1, y, no matter what x and y are. So that is why this is guaranteed to be smaller than everything in S. Okay, 0, x1. Finally, you do the same thing as earlier. And the zip repeat one is just the list with infinitely many ones. And if I zip that with s, I'll get 1 comma x1, 1 comma x2, dot 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 1 comma x. Is this point clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is just to so that you don't have to assume that there is a subtraction operator defined on your system. Okay. Okay, great. So right. So now let's get to the recursion in this LAS prime. So consider a general LAS prime of x colon y colon y. Recall that you are trying to compute a longest ascending subsequence that definitely includes x, and that consists of some elements in y colon y. Now, if x is greater than or equal to y, since your ascending subsequence will definitely start with x, it cannot contain y, right? Because if you include y, x should be less than y. So it cannot contain y. But on the other hand, if x is less than y, then there is no guarantee that you will always include y, okay, in your subsequence. Because you might have included, so suppose the next element after 15 is, suppose your x colon y is of the form 15, 45, 20, 30. Okay, what will happen if you include what will happen if you include 45 in your sequence?
It will be 2.
Yeah, but then if you ignore it, you can get 3, right? Right. So with 15 followed by 45 cannot extend. But 15 drop 45 can extend to something of longer, to something longer. Okay, so that is what you want to check. So basically, what you want to do is you want to try both options, retaining 45, dropping 45, check what the lengths are, and pick the maximum. Okay. So if x is y, if x is less than y, then we can either include y or not. So you compute LAS prime under both these options and then take the max. Including y means that you want to now compute, you know that x is definitely there, and you now want to say that y is also definitely there. So you want to make a recursive call to LAS prime of y colon y. Okay, now you're saying y is definitely there, but then x is already there, right? So you have to add 1. Okay? Otherwise, you have to do LAS prime of x colon y. Okay, so that is what. So if you do not include y, you have to recursively call LAS prime of x colon y. If we do include y, then you have to call LAS prime of y colon y and add 1 to the result because x is also there. Okay, so getting back and adding. So compute these two values and find out and add 1 to the result. I should say. Sorry, there is a typo here. Okay, I'll try to fix it later. And add 1 to the result, and yeah, so you compute the maximum among these two and you pick that choice. Okay, and so that is what this is. So LAS prime empty list will never be called, but I'm just including it. LAS prime of singleton list x is 1 because you want to include x and that's it. LAS prime of x colon y is if x is less than y, then max of 1 plus len 2 and len 1. Else len 2, where len 1 is LAS prime of y colon y. Len 2 is LAS prime of x colon. Is this clear?
Sir, I had a question regarding the sequence. So we don't we want a strictly ascending sequence, is it?
Right.
Okay.
You could modify the problem to say ascending, but not necessarily strictly, and then you would modify this. This will become then this would become excess.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let us now, this is still in the list form, and you know that to turn it into an array form, you need some indices, etc. So let's move towards that. So what I want to do is fix excess of length n greater than 0 and define Fij for I less than j less than or equal to n. Okay, this is important. Define Fj to be LAS prime of excess at I followed by drop j of excess. Okay, so what you're doing is, if you have, this is location I, this is location j, you start with location 0. So if you drop j, then you are if you're dropping j, then you are dropping everything from index 0 to index j minus 1. Okay, so you will include everything here. Okay, everything there is included, and you are also including and you are also including xi. Okay, so that is what you're doing. Okay, so that is what my Fij is. Now if I do, so my x colon y colon y is, let us say, is this, that will come up here. If my x colon, let us say x's at I followed by x's at j, sorry.
Excuse me, sir. Could you go back to the last page for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
So, yeah. Okay. So. So let us say this is x. For me, this is y, and this whole thing is y's. Okay. So then Fij is so LAS prime. But this, you know, that is equal to, this is equal to, if okay. What is len1? Len1 is LAS prime of y colon y's. Okay, so what is len1 in terms of f? Can somebody tell? What is LAS prime of y colon y's?
Sir, F
Yeah.
J.
Not even x. So what is y colon y's in terms of x's? Let us first get that. It is just drop j x's, right? Yeah, y colon y's is just nothing but drop j x's. But drop j x's is nothing but x's at j followed by drop j minus j plus 1. Right? You take the jth element, and then if you, the rest of the list is what you get after dropping j plus 1 elements. Similarly, x colon y's is x's at I followed by drop of j plus 1 x's. So you'll see that Fij is defined in terms of Fij plus 1 as well as Fjj plus 1. Okay, that is what we'll get in a second. You'll see that. Okay, fin, in the case when j equals n, then you are saying drop n x's, but dropping n x's is nothing but dropping everything in the list, which will give you the empty list. So you will have a singleton element. And in the case of a singleton list, we saw that LAS prime will give you value 1. Okay, so fin is value 1 no matter what I is. For j less than n, fij is nothing but LAS prime of x's at I, drop j x's. But this is nothing but if xi is less than xj, then max of this is that, where len1 is LAS prime of x's j drop j plus 1 x's. Len2 is x's I drop j plus 1 x's. So when you translate it back to fij, then you are defining fij in terms of fij plus 1 and fjj plus 1. Yeah, so you get exactly this.
Sir, just previous.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So you are just, so now you have defined f directly in terms of itself without referring to LAS prime. So you can, so you are defining f directly and then recovering LAS prime from it. LAS prime of x's is nothing but LAS prime of x's at 0 and drop 1 of x's. So that is f of 0. Okay. So the final value that you want is f of 0. So if somebody wants me to go back to the last page for a minute, etc., please tell me. Okay. Because I don't watch chat all the time. Apratim Ghosh.
No, sir, I already asked you. I
Good.
sent you a message first, then you didn't see it, so I asked you.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, great. Okay. Is it clear till now for everyone?
So just I had a question. So f is also exponential time, right? Because f.
Yes, this is also exponential time. I mean, I have not done any change. I have just transformed that to this, but this is also exponential time. Exactly. So, but before looking at the time, this is the whole program. Okay. Just if you want to copy it down or whatever, I've already, I'll anyway upload it. It's already part of that lex7.hs, lex17.hs. Pick it up. So this is the whole program. This is how you do it. Let us move ahead. Yeah. As who observed that this is also exponential?
Sir Rajdeep.
Yes, this is also exponential because you call fij's, multiple calls to the same ij values will be made. Okay, you are not storing the values. So what is the easy thing to do? Store the values. How do you store the values? Use arrays. Okay. So earlier we were trying to do this DP thing where you stored the value in a list, but you have to very precisely define that list, etc. Now you store it in arrays, and because Haskell arrays are lazy, you can store the elements in any order you want, as long as you are not using an element before it is stored. Okay, that is the important point. Store elements in the array, store fi values in the array. LAS array, as I call it, in any order. Just ensure that you don't use a value before you try to use value that is not yet defined. Meaning, if you do LAS ARR of bang I, then that has to be defined already. Okay, but the way we design our program, that will be ensured, so you don't need to worry. So that's all.
I just
yes
had a quick question, sir. Just wanted to ask that does a single bang have a constant time? Does it run in constant time?
Yes, it runs in constant time. Yes.
Oh, got it.
That is why you use that. Yeah, so that is why arrays are this thing. Yeah, so this is our program. So rather than doing that, you store the thing in this array, and you just say that the entries in the array are fij, where I ranges from 0 to n. Now, because you want to be a little more systematic, etc., you right now, what I am doing is I am storing every value, Fij values for all ij pairs from 0, 0 to nn. But it is not defined for certain things. It is not defined when I is greater than or equal to j. So I'm just putting a dummy value here, 0. Okay, so that's an extra class I have added. Okay, because you need to be very careful about the important point. Let me change color and order of list is important. Order of elements in the list is important. Why is order of elements in the list important? Can somebody tell?
Sir, because we don't want to, we don't want to use values that are not defined.
No, I mean, that is one thing, that is fine. But even otherwise.
Yeah, the first element, we need a subsequence. We start with the first element and strictly increasing, and the element should
so
all have to be above.
Because if you remember that your array will associate index values. So your array is something like this. It'll first have all the index values. Then it will go through your list from left to right and it will fill it up in that order. Okay, so if your list is presenting the Fij values in a different order, then Fij will be entered into some array index that corresponds to some, I don't know, some KL. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No, sir, I didn't understand this.
Yeah, that is why I did this. So here 0, 0.
Sir, I didn't understand this.
Yeah, who's asking this?
Harish.
Good. So let me create a new page. Oh, I'm not yet in presentation.
Sir, if I greater than or equal to j, we will take elements before the first element, right?
1 second,
Sir.
let me explain this point for Harish. So if you do
Okay.
list array, some list, let us say, that list is, let us say, I don't know, okay, if you make this call, then it will create an array whose bounds are 0n, and then it will create a kind of a table where there will be entries. These are index entries. And then it will be filling it in order, going from left to right.
Okay.
Yeah. So now in our example, we want LAS array at ij. We want this to mean, this should mean f of ij. Yes. So what will happen if you, for instance, if by mistake I gave some LAS array equals list array of, I don't know, yeah. So let's do this. And then in the list I gave something else. Let us say something like this. I am being very smart here. I'll say, oh, I know that Fij is defined only when I is less than j. So I'll do something like this. What will happen then? Harish? So let's take a concrete example. Let's say you could even, yeah. So let's take a concrete example. Let's say n is 3. So then what are the indices? There will be 0, 0, 0, 0, sorry, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, then 1 0, 1 1, 1 2, 1 3, etc. all the way till 3 0, 3 1, 3 2, 3 3. Whereas what are the values? The values are F01, F02, F03, F12, F13, F23. That's all. So there are only so many values. And actually you will be, if you did this, you will be filling in F12. Change color. This F12 will be going to index 03 and F13 will be going to index 10. And F23 will go to F11. That's it. Is it clear?
Okay. Yeah. Understood, sir.
Understood? That is why
Yeah.
I defined dummy values. I want to cover all the indices in exactly the same order. So
Okay,
if you don't want to do this, that is when you have to use the other method that I told you about. Recall that I told you about this method called array, which is where you give some lower bound, upper bound, and then you give an associative.
Yeah.
So you could do the same thing. You could say, I want to build my LAS array using the array call. And then you will again give your lower bound 0, 1, let us say. Here you can be more precise. 0, 1, n minus 1, n. These are my lower and upper bound for the indices. Remember that the indices will cover all these cases, no matter what you put. But for your values,
Yeah.
you can just say, I will just have I comma j is associated with Fij, where I comes from 0 dot dot n, j comes from I plus 1, I comes from 0 dot dot n minus 1. J goes from I plus 1 dot dot. This is a much more secure way of doing things. Okay, because you are always clear what value is associated with what index.
Sir,
Yes, Srimati.
so could you repeat what you explained about, like previously, sir, the 0 0 0 1 0 2 0
Yeah. So if you
like
say if you say list array 0 0 nn, then what are all the indices? The indices will all be in this order: 0 0 0 1 0 2 0 3, 1 0 1 1 1 2 1 3, 3 0 3 1 3 2 3 3. In this
Yes.
order.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, but so if you do a list array call, then the list that you provide, okay. So I'm giving Fij entries, and I want Fij to be stored. The Fij value should be stored in index I comma j.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? But if I give something like this, which does not match that, then it will be a problem. Suppose I give my list to be Fij, I goes from 0 to n minus 1 and j goes from I plus 1 to n. Then the Fij values that I have given are F01, F02, F03, right? And then F12, I won't have any F11, nor will I have F10, because I'm taking j only from I plus 1 to
Yeah. Okay. But
1 to F13, F23. And now list array, what it will do, it will just lay out the indices in a line in this order, and then it will read the list from left to right and just lay out the values from left to right in the array. It won't match which index should go to which value should go to which index. It won't do a very careful job. I mean, it will just do it in the same order that you give in the list.
okay, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So So just in case you want to, in the same example, if you want, I can tell you. Yes. So what will happen is that if you say, okay, so if you say list array of then the index values are all 0 0. 20, etc. Will go on like that. But what are your list values? The list values are F01, F02, F03, and then immediately you will put F12, F13,
Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir.
and you are done. Okay. So later when you refer to some LAS or 23, that will be totally undefined. It won't return F23.
Mhm.
Is it clear?
Mm.
So there are two options. Either you be careful about what you enter in your list, if you are using list array, or you use the other function, array. If you use the other function, then you have to give an associative list. When you provide the list itself, you will not give it as Fij, but you will give it as the pair, index comma value pairs you will do, not just a list of values. Okay, so that is what I mentioned in the previous. See this array function. This array function, you take a lower bound for the index, upper bound for the index, and then index comma value pairs here. These are index comma value pairs. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, sir.
And you give, this is the index, that is the value, and you give them in a pair. So you either do this or do that. I am choosing to do this because when I write my code using array, etc., will occupy larger space. So I'm just using list array here, but I am being very careful with how I present the values in the list. Okay, I am saying 0, 0, nn, but I am saying Fij, I goes from 0 to n, j goes from 0 to n. Even though I know that when I is the Fij is properly defined only when I is less than j. I know that, but I am doing this. So to handle the dummy case, when I is greater than or equal to 0, I am when I is greater than or equal to j, I am adding this case. Okay, I'm just putting a dummy value.
Yeah, that's just a placeholder, right? 0 is just a placeholder, so
It will never be used.
oh yeah.
Okay, but I needn't even have it. It doesn't matter if I don't have it also, because Haskell doesn't require you to define all the values in an array before you start using it. It might actually also make sense not to have a value. Okay, yes, also makes sense. But then you
sir,
don't
F is
want
a
to
function, right?
otherwise.
So,
Okay, so
but
no.
F is a,
Yes.
sir, F is a function, so won't it crib that saying that it's not exhaustive?
No. I am making it exhaustive by always putting an otherwise, which is why I put a dummy case here.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I want to put a dummy case here because otherwise you will be doing some unwanted calculation when you try this. Otherwise,
Yeah.
Okay. And then that will anyway refer to some nonsense, and then you won't be able to fulfill stuff. Okay, you don't want nasty things hanging around. Okay, great. Okay then. So that's it about using LAS arrays. Now, actually, in the above program, there was one source of inefficiency still, which is that you are repeatedly using this. You are repeatedly using x's at I and x's at j, and you are doing the list axis, not the array axis, because x's is a list. How do you solve that?
So we can turn access into an array first, and then we can.
Exactly. You turn x's into an array first, and then only do array access. Okay, that's all. So you can even avoid repeated use of the double bang by storing x's in an array XR. This is really simple, and then use x array bang I instead of x's double bang I. Okay, and while we are at it, you can also compute a witness sequence, not just the length alone. Okay, and every recursive call will compute a pair len comma sequence, and you will do appropriately. You will do whatever checks you need to do, and here is the whole program. Okay, there are no surprises here any longer. So you want to return a value, integer value, which is the length of the longest ascending subsequence, and an ascending subsequence itself. For the base case, when your list is empty, then this is 0, empty. Otherwise, you have to first compute len comma sequence as last array bang 0, 1. So this is the main thing. Okay, I have turned it into an array, LAS array. LAS array bang 0, 1 will give me a length as well as a sequence. And now what I'll do is I'll have to subtract one from the length. That much is clear. Then I'll have to find the tail of the sequence because the first element was a dummy element. But also you should remember that my original list I transformed by my original list I transformed by doing this, right? 0, head AS followed by zip repeat 1A. So my original list I have turned into a list of pairs where the first part is only there to provide some ordering. Okay, so I should drop that part. So I should map second. Okay, so this is the thing. That is the final result that you produce. Okay, the rest is as usual. So you take this A's and modify it into this X's by the same trick that I mentioned before. N is length of X's. X array is length list array 0, n minus 1. Those are the indices, and you put the elements of X's in that order. And LAS array is list array of 0, 0, nn, where the list is Fij, where I goes from 0 to n, j goes from 0 to n, and this itself is this Fij. If I is greater than or equal to j, you just put some dummy value 0, empty list. If j is equal to n, then you know that the longest ascending sequence is of length 1, and that is just x's at I, which is just nothing but x array at I. Okay, because Fij. And the other thing you just calculate, if x array I is less than x array of j, then you compute len1 sequence 1, len2 sequence 2 for the recursive calls, but you don't make the recursive call, you refer to those elements in the array. So this is the important thing. There is no recursion really here. Recursive calls are replaced by array reference. Okay, good. There is recursion if you look deep into it, but so the first time you make a call to LAS array bang some index, if it needs to, it will make a call to Fi. But then once that is computed, for subsequent accesses to LAS array at some index will not entail a recursive call. This is really the point. You make a recursive call once, store the value, then use it henceforth. Okay, so this is more or less it. Okay, so this is over. Any questions regarding this? This longest ascending subsequence thing. While we are at it, I might just as well run some test cases for you. And then we'll move on to one more thing about arrays and look at a couple of examples. That will end this whole thing. And from next week, I can do input output for some 2-3 lectures before we want other stuff. I also have an assignment half prepared. I just need to add some test cases, etc., and verify certain things. Then I'll post it by tonight. Okay. Okay. Where are we? Let's go here. Okay, so here I have just written the LAS program, the same thing I have shown in the slides. And here is the LAS2, I am calling it, and that is just the array based, that is just the array based program for computing just the length. Finally, I am doing some LAS sequence, I'm calling it, where I am producing both the the length of the longest ascending subsequence as well as a witnessing subsequence. And I have some stupid main written so that you can do some test cases based on this. So let me just show you. So I have loaded it, right? So let me just say main. It will ask me to enter a list size. I don't know. Let's enter a list size 100. Let's say 50. 50. Let us say. I don't know. Yes, so the input list is this, some long list here. Some random list has been generated. It says the length of a longest ascending subsequence is 9, it says. Okay, and amazingly, this is all it can find. I think 0 here, 0 here, 6 is here, 14 is here. It's cut out. That is 1 and this is 4. You can see the 1 here and the 4 here. And then whatever you can figure out 23 and then 25 and what not 29, 58, no 52, 60. Okay, so this is the kind of thing that is going. So you can try various test cases, but I think it's fine.
Why did it took 58 and 61?
Yeah, it could have taken 58 and 61. I think it depends on the order in which you write your cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, 52 is smaller than 58, right? I think that.
Yeah, because I think the way we did it is that that is because we do the less than case first and then the
Yeah, 52, they both produce the same length and 52 is
I
smaller
know,
than
but
58.
I want us to see maybe if you change the order in which you wrote the things, it will.
So can we extend this program to find all the longest ascending subsequence, like in this
You
case,
can do
length
it
time, so all the.
If you want to modify your program, you can do that. Yes, sure. Then you will not store one list as part of your result, but a list of lists. Then you will keep adding to it. Yes, sure. Yeah. So that would be a challenging thing for anyone. Oh, somebody is stuck. Okay, now I want to get back to my. Okay, good. So, yeah, so you asked why it is giving it in that order, right? Yeah, because I am biasing it towards this. Right. Yeah. So who asked the question of why is it doing this way?
Began.
Huh?
Began.
Yes. So now suppose instead of, so here it doesn't matter. I just want to find maximum of 2, no? I might as well have said, instead of saying len1 plus 1 is greater than len2, I could have just said len1 plus 1 greater than or equal to len2. Okay. So it's a question of what happens when the two quantities are equal. And yes, suppose I do this, and suppose I
Right. It would be random. So they should be copying that and calling.
yeah, I have to copy this, and I don't know how easy it is to copy this. I don't even know if copying and pasting will work. Sorry. Yeah. But you can check that if you can, on this kind of things, if you change the greater than to greater than or equal to, then it would pick the first option it finds. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so let's. So yeah. So that's it. There. So. So let me get back to. So where are we here? Okay. Okay. So let us move on to another problem now. Okay. But before that, I'll show you some new information as well. Okay. This is another way of building arrays called accum array. Okay. This is a kind of an accumulating function being applied, and you derive an array based on an accumulating function. The accumulating function is this basically. And you will see that it sort of behaves like a fold L. You will see all that. So it requires 4 arguments. First argument is a function. Second argument is a initial value that you place at all the array locations. Third value is lower bound and upper bound. Fourth value is an associative list, okay, of A values. Okay, but in the examples that we show, both A and E will be equal. Like in many fold L, fold R examples, you see. You give different types, but most of the examples it will be the same type. So similar thing will happen here. So point is accum array of F. F is the accumulating function. Z is the initial value you place in all the array entries. LU is the lower and upper bound of the indices, and list is your list. Okay, what is this list? We'll come to that in a minute. So it creates an array with indices L to U. It importantly works in time order U minus L. Okay, provided F can be computed in constant time. In the examples, we will see F will be something like plus, simple functions like that. So those are constant time functions. Okay, so accum array takes time proportional to U minus L. Therefore, it only spends that much time to build an array. What kind of array will it build? It will build an array as follows. So accum array F, Z, LU list is what your call is. Suppose for any I in the range LU, any I in between L and U, let us say that the values of your list is a list of pairs, right? The list is a list of pairs. It's a I comma A pairs. So I'm saying your list entries will typically be of the form J comma A. Okay. Pick out all A values where J equals I. Yes. And let us say that is A1, A2, AN, etc. So in other words, what I'm saying is that the.
Sir?
Yes, 1 second.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Srimati, ask your question.
So could you go to the previous slide once? Before this. Oh yeah, I didn't understand the time proportion, the last 2 sentences.
It will take time order. You remember the number of steps is a linear function of U minus L.
So
U
could
is
you
the upper bound.
Okay.
The number of entries you want to fill in the array. That is all. The length of the new array. I mean, u minus L is the length of the array.
So L is the lower bound, and
U is the upper bound. So
and
u
Z
minus.
is, what is Z? Z is initial thing, initial value.
No. No, I didn't.
No, what is Z, sir? You've written.
Z is an initial value. I'll come to that in a minute.
Okay.
When I show you examples, it will be clear, but I'm going to explain it now.
Okay.
Suppose this is what you have. Suppose for every I in range of LU, A1 dot 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 AN is the set of all elements associated with I in your list. Then entry of array at index I is basically this. Fold L F Z A1 dot dot A. That is where Z comes into the play. But it will do this in time proportional to the length of your final array. It won't, as it goes and builds the array, it will go through your list once from left to right, and as it goes through, it will do whatever it needs to do in filling in the array.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you expand this, this is just this. You first apply F on Z and A1, and you apply F on that result and A2, apply F on that result and A3, etc. Finally, you apply F on that result and A. Okay, that is what fold L is. This is basically it. It might look a little too abstract now. We will do a concrete example and then it will be very clear. Okay. So basically, the entry at index I accumulates via the function F and the initial value Z0, all the A values associated with I in list. Okay. Why is this helpful? Why do you want such a thing? It is nice that you can do this in order and time, but using this, you can solve some very nice problems. Here is
Hello,
one.
sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, I had one question. Could you go? Sir, here when we write,
Can
sir,
you-
this is Neelabja, sir.
Neelabja. Okay. Yes.
Sir, when we are writing this, that let list A such that J comma A is an element of list. So are the two conditions verified simultaneously? I mean, J comma A is an element of list and the condition J equal to I when actually the list is built.
No. This is I am trying to explain to you. It will not build any list or whatever. This is not part of accumulate.
No, sir. I mean, when we write such a list, I mean, say when we write this code, then will we get only those A's where J is equal to I?
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now here is an interesting example. Suppose I have a list of elements. Suppose I have a large list. The number of elements is huge, but I know that every entry in the list is between 0 and 99. And now you have to sort it. Okay. We can use various sorting methods, but there is one simple sorting method that you can use, which is that for every number between 0 and 99, count the number of occurrences of I in the list. Okay. And finally, what do you do?
Repeat and concatenate.
Yeah. So if the occurrence count of I is, I don't know, OCI, let us say, you output OCI copies of I. Okay. First output, so let us call them N1 and N0, N1 to N99. N0 copies of 0 is there, N1 copies of 1 is there, etc. etc. First output N0 copies of Z, then output N1 copies of 1, then output N2 copies of 2, etc. etc. And that's it. That's your sort. Is it clear? Yeah, because what is there? You know what the entries are precisely. And this is not an uncommon problem, right? Very often you might be dealing with some large sequence of data. Suppose I'm conducting a huge exam, let us say, for millions of students. But the marks that each person can get can only be from 0 to 99. Of course, and 0 to 100, let us say, and I want to sort according to marks, then I won't go through the whole list and try to do this thing. No, it's easier to just count the number of scores of number of people who scored 0, number of people who scored 1, etc., and then put it out that way. So that is your linear sort. So to illustrate with a smaller example, suppose my original list is this 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 7, 8, 1, 3, 1. the entries are between 1 and 8. Okay, so instead of considering between 0 and 99, I am considering something between 1 and 8. Okay, now first I will transform this to this list. So this is your I comma a part. So you not I comma a, e comma a or whatever. So you have a list now where for every this is I comma a. So for every 2 1. So this is triviality. You just zip the original thing with repeat of 1. That's all. Okay. So you have 2 1, 3 1, 4 1, 1 1, 2 1. Okay. You go from there to here. From here you do accumulate and you get directly here. You get lower bound is 1, higher upper bound is 8, and 1 has value 3. 2 has value 2 because 1 has value 3 because you have 1 occurring once here, 1 occurring twice here, and 1 occurring thrice here. And how do you compute that the value of 1 is 3? You will have to do accumulate with the appropriate thing. Initially, you will put 0 as the entry for every number between 1 and for every index between 1 and 8, saying that there is no occurrence. And every time you encounter a 1 in this list, you will add the corresponding value here. There. Okay. Now that you have this, you do the thing I said. So you output 1 thrice, output 2 twice, output 3 twice because 3 2, output 4 once, output 5 once, 6 0. So output 6 no times. So that technically speaking, I should put a empty list there. Output 7 once and output 8 once. And that is the whole list. This is 1 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 5 7. That is sorted. Yes, this is the idea, and this is the code. Simple. So your linear sort is you have to replicate n times I. Okay, where I comma n comes from Wise. What is Wise? Wise is giving you the list of counts. Okay, how do you get the list of counts? You first do this accumulate and build your array of counts, and then from array of counts you can do the ASOX function, which will give you the index value pairs as a list. Okay, that is what the ASOX function will give you that. So you are that. Yes, and your accumulate is you are installing. This is your F, this is your Z, and this is your list. So for every value you put a 1 next to it, and as you encounter every element, you just add the thing next to it to the already present value. So that's it basically. So accumulate will produce you the list of counts, okay, from which you can produce a sort. Is this example clear?
Yes.
Let us program.
Sir, but the n-log n sort might be better than this in
N-log n
certain
sort might be
cases.
better. So this will work. This will be beneficial only if U minus L is much smaller than N. Very good question. Right? Yeah, typically n-log, because even if you consider U minus L to be 100, okay, for N to be, then N will be 2 to the 100. I mean, even if you go to N equals 2 to the 100, your n-log n sort might be better than this. I agree with what you say, but one has to, yeah. So right, but it is true that in cases where U minus L is much smaller than, you can consider cases where U minus L is much smaller than N. In which case this is better. Okay, this is just but it is just a curiosity to tell you about accumulate. I'll do another example which is more realistic than linear sort, because like who mentioned that n-log n might be better than this? Hello? Hello? Somebody just said. Hello?
Yes, sir, my internet got cut off.
Okay, who is it?
Srijan Chak.
Yeah, you are the one who said that n-log n thing might be better, no?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So right, I agree with you. This is not applicable in a lot of situations. Maybe very few situations where this will be more efficient than your n-log n thing. But I'll look at another problem where the accumulate occurs more naturally. But before that, does everybody understand this program, this linsort thing?
Sir, I didn't understand why L and U are minimum and maximum.
Yeah, because your indices, remember that in our case, the indices are the values, and in your array, Okay, so. Not in general, but in this problem, the indices of the array are the values of the list, and the values of the array are the counts. Count of number of occurrences.
Okay, yes, sir. I understand now, sir.
Number of occurrences of each particular value. That is your value. The index itself is your original values of the list. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So here is an interesting problem. I'll close with this. I'll spend 10 minutes on this and then we can stop with this. Okay. There are 3 more slides only. I wanted to program it also. It's fine. Okay. Why don't I go through this and then we'll program both these things together and look at some test cases. Okay. So given a list of non-negative integers, non-negative numbers, min out will give me the smallest non-negative number not in L. Smallest non-negative number not in L. Okay. Smallest non-negative number in L you can find out by saying minimum. But you want to find the smallest that is not in L. Okay. For example, min out of 312 is 0. Min out of 15302 is 4. If you have 11530, it's 1. Okay. Is the problem clear and are the examples clear? Anybody who has a question on this? Srimati, is it okay?
Yes, sir.
I will proceed. So here is a naive solution that takes time order n squared. Then maybe I should ask you to do a naive solution, etc. This is very naive. So I'll say check whether my I will basically check whether okay, so you want to check whether I is the least value not in L. Having had a guarantee that everything from 0 to I minus 1 is in L, okay, then you want to check this. So we want to first check whether 0 is the least value in L, and for that you just check whether 0 is an element of L. If so, then you move on to the next number. Otherwise, you report that I is. So this thing is very simple. Yeah, if 0 is an element of L, then you should check whether 1 is outside L. 1 is also an element of L, check whether 2 is outside L, etc. etc. Okay. The moment you find something where the I LML call returns false, you say, oh, I is the least thing that is outside L. Is this clear?
Yes.
It's almost like translating your problem specification to a program. The problem statement has just been translated to a program just directly. And why does it take order n squared time?
Like the LM has to check all the list
Yes.
Yeah.
LM will have to go through the whole list. So LM will take order n time, and you are going to anyway search for elements. Why order n squared and why not more? Because you have to keep on searching for elements not outside that are not in L. No.
The array can have at most 10 elements. So one of them should
No,
match.
not array. This list has n elements. So if I have a list of L length n non-negative entries, then what can I say about the minimum element not in L? Can I place some bounds on it?
So it can't be more than n plus 1.
Actually, it is less than or equal to n. Okay, because if I have the worst case is when I have elements 0 to n minus 1 in the list, in which case n is the minimum thing outside the list. But otherwise, something inside, something between 0 and n minus 1 will be missing, right? right? So if you look at 0, this is the pigeonhole principle. Everybody knows pigeonhole principle, right? There are between 0 and n, there are n plus 1 values, length n. So between 0 and n minus 1, there are n positions. So if I distribute n plus 1 positions into n values, then something has to be missing. Sorry. Okay, this is a version of pigeonhole principle. Everybody should be clear about that. And I know that one value can go in exactly one position. So therefore, something has to be missing. Yeah? Is it clear to everybody why this program works and why this takes order n squared?
So I don't think I understood.
Yeah. So okay. So let me make it clear. Good that you are asking questions and asking me to clarify rather than just okay. So here is the point. My list has so values are 0, 1, 2, whatever. Okay. So list is length n. So how many positions does the list have? 0, 1, 2, n positions. Okay, 0 till n minus 1. And the values are all non-negative. Okay, so consider values between 0 and consider all how many are there, Srimati?
So n plus 1.
N plus 1. Good. So can I put all n plus 1 of these values into the list?
No.
I cannot, right? Because one position can hold only one element, one value.
Yeah.
So therefore, what does it mean? If I cannot put all these values into the list, what does it mean?
Like one of them has to repeat. That I understood.
No, not one of them has to repeat. One of them cannot appear.
Okay, yeah.
That is it. That is your min out.
No, but sir, aren't you looking from 0? Like when
between 0 and n, there are n plus 1. Between 0 and n minus 1, those are the indices. Those are the positions in your list. There are n positions in your list. Right? So between values 0 and 1, at least one of them will not appear in the list. Is that clear? In fact, none of them might appear even. In fact, right? Because your list elements could all start from n plus 2 for all you know. There is no guarantee that any of the things but I know for sure that if I consider all the values between 0 and 1, at least one will not appear.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, I know that, so how many n plus 1? Out of these n plus 1 values, at least one is guaranteed to not appear in L.
Yeah.
Yes. So min out of min out of L is less than or equal to L. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So that is why this program takes order n squared time. Okay, but you can do better. How can you do better? You can do order n log n. And nlog n will immediately suggest sorting. What if you can sort the list? Then what can you do? Srimati, can you try to answer?
So you sort the list and take the minimum, and if it's 0, then you give 0, and then if it's not, then you give 1 less.
Yeah, if it is not 0, then you say 0 is the minimum thing that is outside. But otherwise, no, even after you're sorting, you have to search for the minimum element that is not outside, but the search is linear. So I'll show you how the search proceeds. You can do this. First sort the list, and then you start with 0. Okay. Look at, so if the list is non-empty, then look at, compare I and X. If I is equal to X, then I know that I is present. Then I'll check whether I plus 1 is not present. Okay. I might have some mistake in this, but there is a mistake in this code. I'll fix it and tell you. This assumes distinct elements. Okay. This assumes that all the elements are distinct. I'll have to fix this code. But point is, you have a bunch of zeros. After that, you have a bunch of ones. After that, you have a bunch of twos. The first point where you skip an element, you can detect it. Okay. That is all you need to check. Okay. Check for where you are skipping an element. Okay. So rather than doing this, sort, check for a position where you skip an element. So if I have to write code ab initio for it, you will say that, so rather than all this, you will say, so I'll write code for it. Okay, don't worry. So, but the nice thing is that you can actually do this min out using accum array. Yeah, so again, use this observation that the smallest non-negative number outside L is less than or equal to n. So basically what you do is take your original list, select all elements that are less than or equal to n. Okay. And now try to do the counts. How many times do they occur in the list? Okay. You know that if the count is 0, then that does not occur in the list. So you have to report the minimum thing whose count is 0. That's all. So count the number of occurrences of each of these elements in L and report the minimum element. Yeah, use accum array, works in order n time. Use the minimum least number whose occurrence count is 0. Why does it work in order n time? Because remember, order L minus U time, but L is n and U is 0 here. So order n.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, we are selecting all elements in the list that are less than equal to n, right?
Yes, right.
So how can that have occurrence 0? I mean, the count 0?
Why not?
So the count 0 means it does not occur in the list, right?
Yeah. Array, no. I'm not looking at, one second. Right, what you're saying is true. Count the number of occurrences of not each of these. Of 0 ... n in L. That is true.
Okay, sir. So we are not necessarily looking for the
you are
elements
not
in list.
necessarily looking for that. You are looking for the count of 0 ... n.
Okay.
You will see that in a minute. Okay. The program I have written is correct, but I phrased it wrongly. Okay.
So one more thing. So when you say this min out using accum array is order of n.
Yeah.
So that assumes that the range of values that n can take is a constant, right? So, but if n is longer in this case.
No.
Then
L, what is it? No, which is longer, L or n?
No, so I'm saying that when you take order of what's it called, accum array, like you're saying that so can you hear me?
Accum array works in order n time, I said. Yes.
Yeah, you're saying it's n, but that's because you're taking that the range of values that it can take is a constant. Like for example, in the marks case, it was 100.
Right. Oh, here it is n. N is given to you initially.
Yes, so on that scale with n, that will also be, if n increases, then that will also increase. So.
Yeah, that is the point about order n. No, it's not constant. No, even earlier it was order L minus U or whatever. That is fine. But now, yeah, That is fine. That's a different problem. This is a different problem. This is order n.
Okay, actually, I'll check through the rows.
Yeah. So that's a different problem. So there, the number of values is 100, but then your list is the number of occurrences of each element could be, if you count the number of occurrences of all elements, that is n. That's a different problem. Here, this is a different problem. Okay. But anyway, the point is this, that you first create a count list, and whoever asked this problem, you are creating a count list where you are saying 0n. Compute occurrence values for all I in 0 dot dot. Is it clear? Who asked that question?
Yes, sir, it was Nilabjo. Thank you.
Who asked you? Please tell your name. Neelabjo.
Sir, I'm Nilabjo, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, but of course you do this, the list itself, you just filter it to the this thing. Okay? Because the list could be long, etc., etc. So you filter the values of also because you want to use accum array, and then here the this list should be proper. So I shouldn't have random entries and try to fill it into this accum array, into this array. So I have n comma 1, I comma 1 for every I belonging to the list. For as many times as it occurs in the list, I'll have I comma 1 again, etc., etc. This accum array will count the number of occurrences of all those. It will enter it, but at least one of them will have count 0. So I want to search for the minimum with count 0, and that is why I'll do it. Search of x comma c in this count list. X is the value and c is the occurrence count. If c is 0, then I report x. Otherwise, I search in the tail. Okay, and I'll definitely hit a point where the count is 0. Okay, so this call will never be made. The search empty list call will never be made. But I'm just putting it. So this is basically it. Okay, so this is your min out, and if you want, we can program this and see that thing, or I'll let you program it yourself. And even this wrong code I gave, I can give you the correct code here. So the nlog n code. There, what you should do is that you should do so this min out L is go sort L. Yeah, go 0. So go I empty list is you even need to go in that side. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you have to do a little bit about the currencies. Okay, let me do a hack. Okay.
So we can do the shrink thing that was in the assignment, and then.
Yeah, 1 second. 1 second. Yeah, let me just do a minor hack. Okay, I'm going to add -1 deliberately to the front of the sorted list. Where what does this go do? Okay, go of empty list will never erase because I'm doing this. Go of some x, then I'll do x+1. Okay, because x has occurred, x+1 is the next one that is missing. Go of x colon y is if y equals x plus 1 x, okay, if x equals y or x plus 1 equals y, then it means that either one element repeats or there is no skip. Okay, the first point where there is a skip, you are going to report that. Okay, and this you can do because the list is sorted, and that is why originally you took it to be -1, because if 0 itself is not there, then that would be a skip and you will report 0 and you will never report -1. Okay, if -1 is the only thing, then you know that -1 plus 1 you will report, which is again 0. So this would be the code for that. Okay, as you can check if you want. Okay, so you are reporting the first element that is skipped. And we can do this kind of search because it is sorted. First element, so this go is this is what it. Okay, so this is it. So anything else you want to ask? So I think I'll just in this, I have some 2 or 3 problems which will require you to use arrays and then solve it and gain practice. But I also have a couple of other problems which I hope you will find interesting, and that will be an assignment which I will post by today night. Okay, definitely after some other work that I have to finish. Yeah, and so please ask me if you have any doubts now or later. So please ask your TAs if you have anything. If anything I'm teaching is not clear, if I need to change something, do some more basic material, whatever. Okay, but I think we are done with lists, primarily concentrating on lists for now. We'll do IO for some 2-3 classes. Then we'll do some user defined data structures and so on. And I think we are anyway 1 month more to go. And yeah, so I'll try to cover as much interesting and useful material as possible. Okay, any questions?
Sir, what is the time required to like find ASUCs, like the order of time required, or time
What
complex?
is the resource? No.
I mean ASUCs, like the function on arrays.
I don't know offhand. To find out how much time is taken, you're saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't know right now. I have to check and tell you. I'll tell you later.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if there are no more questions, then let me stop my
Sir,
yes.
regarding the mail I sent you, told that.
Right. I know. Let me first stop the